Hi there, it's Simone. Welcome to the currently inked Best of 2022 roundup? Something. I don't even have a name for this video. Today, I would like to walk you through my currently inked journal. I have 3 because I am crazy like that, and show you all the pens and ink combinations that I had inked in 2022. I already went through and tagged some of them that I really loved, and then I want to pick 9 or 10 pens, depending on if it's the same pen with the same ink. I physically cannot ink them up with 2 inks, for one more revisit of those best ink pen and ink combinations. I am not sure if it's going to be a color palette that I like, and all of that I'm not sure about. And that's the reason why I'm really scared, because I would actually love to use the pens, the inks and pens that I just recently acquired, but no, I decided I'm going to try this and see how it goes. And if after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, time flies really fast when you get older, just so you know. If I don't like that anymore, then there's no reason why I can't unink them. But then at least I know I tried, and I know if it was something that I benefit from and if I really liked it. So then after having that inked, I can decide this is something I want to continue from now on for every year, or this was a one-off thing. All right, so I started documenting currently inked pens or ink rotations in 2021. To be exact, I think the first one that I don't think I filmed those at the time, but the first one I wrote down was April 28th, 2021. So 1 3/4 years. Is that how you say that? 1 year ago and 9 months, I started recording it. I did not have a lot of inks or ink samples at the time. I also didn't have very many pens. And I used a notebook that I then decided to separate into, I think, 3 different notebooks. That's why you see these items tipped in here. And I also did not really record these currently inks frequently. That I started in January 2022. To be exact, I filmed my first... Did I film it? I will have to go back. I will link the first currently inked in this for 2022 in the cards above, and maybe I will put together a playlist of just the 2022 currently inked. If I have the time, you will find that in the description box linked below. So I did that on a monthly basis. However, I did not do this exactly in the beginning of the month. Whenever I felt that I needed a change, I changed things out. I also didn't change all of the inks every month. And so it's not, I know that some people on YouTube, that's also something. See, in my last video, again, I'm referencing that. Maybe you should watch it. I talked about boundaries and how the way I ink my pens, the way I create a color palette works for me at the moment, but it doesn't necessarily have to work for you. So I decided really early on that I am not someone who will have a currently inked video or an ink rotation at the beginning of the month. It turned out to be almost every month that I changed some of my inks and pens almost every month, but it wasn't exactly on the dot at the same time. It more like 1.5 months. So I had January 1st, then February 16th. What happens most of the time is that I keep 3 to 4 pens that work really well and are still inked quite a bit over to the next month and pick a number of new pens to add to that new rotation. As you can see, over the course of the year, I acquired more ink samples. And so I was able to create different color stories. Maybe that's a good name for it. Basically, what I try to do is have some kind of a rainbow resemblance, because that just is really nice and works well with light and dark and contrasting colors. I use these pens to journal. I journal with a different pen. Every entry is a different color and a different pen. And so I really love just matching or not matching and contrasting these pens and inks, if that makes sense. And then I decided on a format on how I wanted to document that. And I wasn't really able to stick to the same format. And then in May, or beginning of May, sometime before this next rotation, I watched a video by Chris Sains who makes a report card for her inked pens. And I thought that was such a great idea to remember in just a really short sentence, or not even sentences, just words, what actually worked and what didn't work. Because here, do I remember next year why this didn't work for me? Or maybe it did, because I kept it until April. So this has been really great. The plus and minus, the grades, I did not put actual letter grades, just plus, minus, and stuff like that, are very random. They do not represent the same thing in the next month. It's just okay, so this plus plus might be more than this plus. So that's then how all of this turned out to be. And I did actually skip the month of June. I had my parents visit almost the whole month, and so I did not journal a lot, and so it made total sense to just keep going with the pens and inks that I had already inked. And then once I felt like I had used quite a bit of those, I moved on. And the same thing happened in December. So August is here, then September, October, and then in November I filmed on the 22nd. So from October 11 to November 22nd is quite a while. And I did not ink any pens in December because I just slowed down quite a bit and it just didn't fit with my needs. And that's exactly how I enjoy inking and filming these videos. I know that these are some of my most watched videos, but I'm trying to not let that influence the way that I ink my pens and the frequency that I ink my pens. Now, let's look at the tick marks. I remember I really loved this combination. I have all of the swatches here and the fountain pens here. So I really loved this combination. I really had a hard time falling in love with this pen, even though it's one of my favorite looking pens. It felt very heavy. Now that I have heavier pens, it doesn't anymore. So I'm really curious to revisit this pen and ink combination, especially because that ink, I remember, was quite wet. Then I had the Kaweco Sport, another Kaweco Sport. That's so interesting because I actually sold 2 Kaweco Sports because they're not my favorite pens. But I have all of the Kaweco Sports. I had this inked with Sailor Shikiori Yosakura, and it felt like this was the only pen that this ink worked in, so I really want to revisit that, if that's still true. Then I had this inked with a Shimmer ink, Diamine Inkvent Sub-Zero. It was super wet and juicy, and I just love the color. So then I have these 3. I will pick out the ink swatches in a minute. And then what is really interesting is that I loved this pen. I actually marked 2 of those. So I had inked it with Diamine Wonderland. It's another Inkvent ink. And I think the reason why I really like this so much is because it is such a wet writer. And this is the thickness of, it's a beginner's nib, that's what it says on the nib, feels like it's a tiny bit broader than a usual medium nib, and it's really well tuned. It doesn't feel like it's dragging across the page. I noticed that with my TWSBI broad nib, it felt very draggy. That's another thing I need to explore. Why I don't want to film this video, because there's so many things that I want to explore besides re-inking this. But now that I'm talking about it, I'm getting excited about this situation here too, so I can wait a little while to explore all the other stuff. So this I really liked with Diamine Wonderland, and I also, wow, in July I didn't really, they were okay, but they weren't wowie interesting, right? In August, I had my Lamy Safari inked with Robert Oster Blue Moon. I didn't realize at the time that it was a shimmer ink, but I really love the shade of blue, and I loved how wet it felt, which is so weird because I hear that many Robert Oster inks are very dry in general. Like, Robert Oster is a very dry brand. So if you're super experienced, more experienced than me, maybe you can leave a comment below and let me know if that's a true statement. And Lamies are known to be rather dry writers, so why did this combination work so well? Not sure. Because here, I really loved Lamy Tourmaline in the Pelicano Junior as well. That's something weird. So I actually like the color story of pens right now. Then I had the Franklin Christoph with my Sig Medium nib, which is on here, yes. And Diamine Writer's Blood, such a wet and juicy writer. It's in all caps, love every aspect of this. Then, interestingly enough, and I guess I will have to unink those now. In my October currently inked, these 2 were my favorites. This Pilot Custom 74 with a medium nib inked with Diamine Ancient Copper. And then the Platinum 3776 with the Robert Oster Black Violet. That was the first ink that I had put into this pen. I really enjoy it with the Diamine Tempest as well. I'm totally okay with going back to the Black Violet though, and then I'm curious to see what other inks I enjoy in this pen. I have a feeling that I will love every ink in here. We will see how that is going to turn out. And then from this last rotation, I think I want to keep those, but I need to count how much this is and if I'm okay with that. So I really love this pen. Is a very good writer, just very reliable, and I really love this ink. This ink is so complex. It's baby poo green, where is it? Right here. And it has these orange undertones. I did not expect to love this ink so much, but I do. And then this wet and juicy TWSBI Eco Extra Fine with Diamine Deep Magenta. So how many pens? Oh yeah, and I have to make a decision. Is it going to be orange or tourmaline? We will see. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8. Habe ich jetzt richtig gezählt? Did I count correctly? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think that's a good amount. I will pick out the ink samples, swatches, so we can look at the color story that this tells. This is not something that I have done before. I usually start with the colors and maybe have an idea in mind. I want to use this pen. What color would I want to put in? But this is different. I will be back. Okay, so the decision has to be made whether I want to use this or this, and I feel like it's already been made. I like this balance more. This is a darker ink. Well, this is dark too. This also, this kind of, this. I think I have a good balance here. So this one is still inked. This one is still inked. I need to unink these two and then I can ink all of those. It's so weird to see how all of those are my best of is basically 2 pens that I have already sold. Not already sold. I mean, like, of the many pens that I have here, the category of pen, the Kaweco Sport, I have sold 2 of them because I don't like them as much as the others. Does not really ring true for my best of 2022. I really like this color palette. I'm going to be back and swatching them with you in just a moment. All right, I'm back. I actually really like these colors together. It looks kind of rainbowy to me. I don't know about you. Really like this. I did, of course, not do the right thing. I did not let my pens completely dry out. And I also had some accidents. And look at this. I hope you can actually see this. Look at how dirty this converter still is. So I guess I still have to clean this out. This was a Pilot squeeze converter. I wanted to take it off to see if ink was in there. You should never do that, I realized. But let's start with this. Is the Franklin Christoph. I need a paper towel. Model 45 with a SIG medium nib, and it is inked just like in September. Franklin Christoph. With Diamine Writer's Blood. It is wet and juicy and just how I like them. And I love writing with this now so much. I really enjoy the line variation that this nib gives me. It's just a joy to use. So I'm really excited to use this one. It is getting darker and darker. I forgot to put the date, just so you know, when I filmed this, January 03, 2023. I'm pretty sure that I am not going to switch up my already scheduled videos or not. So you might see this a week later or so, but that's when I filmed this. The next fountain pen that I inked, you saw me pick it, is the, maybe it's just the ink flow of the other ink that was weird, because Pilot, oh, this is super wet, Custom 74 medium, and the ink is diamine, ancient copper. We are having a storm watch starting today with severe flooding and all that stuff coming. And my son actually just got home from school early because they have a problem with water in the bathrooms and outside. So school was off early. This I inked up. So what is this? This is the Kaweco AL Sport Golden Espresso. I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. Sailor. Tinterias. Homemade. This ink is a limited edition ink or something. You can get it at the Tinterias podcast website. This is a Spanish speaking podcast. And this is the only time that I regret not getting a bottle of this. I have seen sometimes they are available, but sometimes not. I don't know how it actually works to be able to get those. They are super expensive too. I haven't found a, what is this? Wheat color that I like as much as this one, but then also I haven't tried that many yet. The other one that I used was Coffee Date. Now that I look at it, it looks very similar. I felt when I wrote with it that it had a pinky undertone, which I didn't like at the time, but now that I look at these two, this one looks more green, sick-ish, and now I'm not sure which one I like better, but at that time when I used this ink, I didn't enjoy it in that pen, so maybe that's the reason why I didn't like it as much. But this works really well in the Kaweco. Then this was the one that I talked in my ink rotation report video so much because I just can't get over how cool this looks. See, it's green in the beginning and then it suddenly turns orangey. So cool. Twisby. This is much stiffer than the Kaweco, for instance, or both medium nibs. Twisby VAC 700R Iris medium. And the ink is Krishna A Cassia Flora. So I'm really excited to write with those inks, even though I'm not sure that I'll leave them in the pens for too long. I already noticed that I have very similar colors in these three pens. You will see that in a second. This is Pelicano. This is an A nib, stands for beginner. The ink is Lamy Tourmaline. And it's just very bright and powerful. And this is my son's learner's fountain pen that he got, I think, in second grade. That would have been in 2014. I do have ink bottles for writer's blood. I have a 30 milliliter bottle for the ancient copper. The Tinterias was an ink sample that I received from my friend Mar. The Cassia Flora, I don't even have the sample vial anymore. I This I received in an InkFlight box, and it's completely empty and in here. So if this is done, I'm done with it. So I definitely am happy that I can extend the sample a little bit longer. And then the Lamy Tourmaline, the last time I had, oh my gosh, the last time I had a sample and now I have a full bottle. That was when I thought I would purchase a bottle every time I really, really love an ink, but I decided that that's not going to happen anymore. Currently, I really enjoy experimenting with inks, and so I'll just give myself permission not to load myself with ink bottles that I then have the feeling that I have to use them because I have so much ink in them. If that changes at some time and I decide, well, I'm just going to use these 5 inks, then of course an ink bottle would be the better choice. This is the Kaweco. I find it really weird. This is a Kaweco Sport, but this one is called Kaweco Collection. So is it a Kaweco Sport collection with a cyan color with a medium nib, and this is Diamine Sub-Zero, and this is working really well, as we can clearly see. I dipped all of those pens after I had inked them because I felt like they probably wouldn't write. It might also be an ink flow. Ooh, Sub-Zero. Wow, this works well. And now it seems like it might have a great. Where's my testing notebook? Right here. The last time I had this problem with my TWSBI Swipe, I removed the nib and the feed, and there was so much shimmer between the nib and the feed that I assume that that's what made the nib not write anymore. I am trying to find if there is a way that I can make it go. I can make it go away without having to do that. But if that's what I ultimately have to do, then I guess I will. See, when I touch the top of the nib, there's lots of ink coming out, but when I don't, so, I mean, there's also lots of shimmer right here, so I guess that's the problem then. Let's just check. Oh, look at this. Okay, look at this feed. Can you see the shimmer? Now look at the nib. Okay, doesn't matter what my hand looks like. Can you see the shimmer inside here? Maybe that's the reason why it's clogged or why it's not writing. I'm just gonna take this out and see if that will help. Otherwise, I will just rinse it. That works too. But this is how you remove the nib and the feed of a Kaweco pen. It's easier if you remove the this first. So maybe Simone, or Simone, as I actually like to call myself, and Shimmer inks are just not meant to be happy with each other. See, what I would love to do is just take this pen and throw it against the wall and then say, here, go take this. I don't really want to deal with your problem. Why can't you just write? I don't know. Okay, I will have to rinse this. We will talk about this later. I received this in the ink diamine ink vent. Oh, there is a lot of shimmer ink in there too. And then, so I'm not gonna touch this. And this also then makes me want to use this pen. Then I have Robert Oster Blue Moon. I think I made the mistake of shaking this ink vial, even though there wasn't a lot of ink left. So now there's probably also a lot of shimmer in here. Let's see if that writes. Lamy Safari. Oh, can you see that? It feels like it's 1.1. I'm not the luckiest person with these inks for today, for sure. This is not me. Guess who's not lucky? This girl. Or a person, or a woman. Robert Oster. I'm not going to... Robert Oster Blue Moon. Blue Moon. Currently inked gone wrong. That's what this is. So if I was going to swear on my YouTube channel, which I can because I never said I wouldn't, then I would say, fuck this. Or I even would write. So it's not just one specific pen. It's a lot of pens that have problems. The Kaweco, the Lamy, with these shimmer inks. So what am I learning from this? Don't use shimmer inks? How do you use shimmer inks successfully? Yay, this is awesome. Let's try and see if this works. This is the, oh my gosh, look at this. It just comes out of the pen. No problem. Platinum 3776 with a medium nib, and the ink is Robert Oster Black Violet. And this ink, I'm glad I still have so much left, but this I would totally consider buying a full bottle. Let's see what this is doing to me. When I tried and tested it, I was already like, okay, this is not working for me. I don't know why I even flagged it. Oh, now it looks okay. So this is the Kaweco Sport Frosted, or something like that. Frosted Natural. It doesn't even fit here. Coconut with a double broad nib, and the ink inside is Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. And it's wet and juicy. Then the last one, another wet and juicy pen, is the TWSBI Eco Purple Glow with an extra fine nib and diamine magenta. So I guess what I'm going to do is clean those nibs out. I'm going to remove them, rinse them, and then try them again. But if it doesn't work, then I will just clean them out immediately and not deal with the frustration of clogged nibs. My life is too short for that. And this I'm declaring done. After this, I'm just gonna rinse this ink vial and call it done. And we will see what is going to happen. I definitely am curious to see when I'm over these pens, when I'm ready to move on into the new pens, into some of the new inks. I have so many ink samples to swatch from friends. There is ink from the Ink Flight box coming in January. I haven't put the Ink Flight box from December into pens. I still have inks from a meetup, more swapped inks from friends, and it's already coming out my ears. So I really want to do this really fast, experience them one more time, and then come back and say, yay, this is the winner. This is not a winner. And then move on. I hope to use each one of those at least once for journaling. And I think once I'm done with that, then I'm rethinking, is it time for me to move on, or do I just do one more rotation or something like that? Thank you so much for watching and bearing with me and seeing all the failures that happened. I will see you soon. Oh, you know what? When I like videos from my favorite creators, then I actually subscribe, and I also sometimes hit the like button and I comment. So maybe you should do that too. Until then, bye. Okay, I'm back just quickly. So I had this. Then I tried it in the, I cleaned them both nibs. I tried it in the Cosmo Air Light. The Sub-Zero still works okay. The Robert Oster Blue Moon Lamy Safari 1.1 step worked okay until I started writing Blue Moon. Here it didn't even work at all. So I made the decision to give this pen and ink combination one more try by removing the nib and putting on the original nib that was on here. This is 30 years old, maybe less. How old am I? 46. Actually 30 years checks out pretty well. I used this pen in high school, and so it already wrote well. So I'm going to try this and see how it performs throughout. I've not been really happy with my Lamis in recent times. And so what I'm going to do is keep this for sentimental reasons, and then just maybe sell the two that I still own. I have a pink one that is currently nibless and a blue one. They're both not super expensive, so I'm not sure if I want to sell those or not, because it's like basically I can just take them out and put them in a box. But if you're interested, please let me know. That's just the last thing that I wanted to say. So it worked really well in here once the ink went flowing, came back flowing, and then I'm just going to see how it works when I write with it in a journal. All right, goodbye.